I am James Yoder. We are going to talk about the latest injury update on Will Johnson and my expectations, or whether we're going to see him on the field coming up Saturday night. Big Ten championship game against Iowa, but I see Indiana right there. Sherrone Moore. A lot of buzz about Sherrone Moore looking at the Indiana job, but he's not the only Michigan coach that might be a top candidate for that vacant Indiana head coaching position. But we're only 3 days removed from beating Ohio State again, man. It still feels so good. I just can't imagine how down in the dumps I'd be 3 days later, 74 hours after the game was over, had Michigan lost. And I really never had any doubt. I never really had much doubt. I think there was a lot of doubt after the subpar offensive performance against Maryland and maybe the lack of passing against Penn State. I never had a doubt. So if you guys are with me, comment BOSA. Let's make sure we don't forget, because I think that's what Ohio State did. I think after 2019's blowout win against Michigan, after 2018-2019 blowout, I think they lost to Clemson on some controversial calls in 2019. They were focused so much on Clemson and Georgia and Alabama. They lost track of who they are as a program. Michigan kind of found their identity at the same time, and that's turned into 3 straight wins to the Wolverines. So let's not take our eye off the ball. Comment BOSA all year long. We talk about Sherrone Moore in Indiana. Mike Hart, though, is the first shoe to drop in this Big Ten or Michigan Football Report, Michigan Football Coaching Carousel for the 2023 offseason. It's been now confirmed late in the last hour and a half, 2 hours or so, that he has been contacted and via his representatives has agreed to interview for the Indiana head coaching position. Now, you guys remember, he was a running backs coach for 3 seasons at Indiana, 2017, 18, 19. They got elevated to kind of like the number 2, right? The associate head coach, which for some programs is a level up above the offensive defensive coordinators. Fred Jackson was that for a couple years back in the 90s to Lloyd Carr. So interesting, right? I don't know if I would recommend Mike Hart takes the job, but he might be kind of itching, right? He's been in coaching for a decade now. He might be itching to get that head coaching job any way he can, and he knows the trials and tribulations of coaching at Indiana. And in fact, Indiana had some of the greatest success when Mike Hart was on that staff back in 2019, and hell, when they broke a 34-game losing streak to Michigan in the 2020 season. Ironically, the quarterback was Michael Penix Jr. before he transferred to Washington. We'll talk more on that coaching carousel in a second, but a few injury updates. Not much to really say as far as official updates. I know some fans get really mad if you even speculate on injuries. I'm not really sure why there is, because they're college kids. But Will Johnson left in the second half of the fourth quarter, except it didn't play against Ohio State. And Michigan did great without him in the secondary, right? They figured out a way to stop Marvin Harrison Jr. Lower leg injury. He was running. I saw footage of him running across the field, though, after the win. So I don't think it's that serious. Harbaugh and Sherrone Moore both made statements on it. First one, Harbaugh does not have an immediate update on cornerback Will Johnson. This is from ESPN's Adam Rittenberg in the Big Ten Championship press conference call with Harbaugh and Kirk Ferentz and some other people on Sunday. Talks about Sherrone Moore as well. He called it a lower leg injury. Lower leg injury is what it's been put out there. That's all good. I see you, Ashley Lawson, with that $20 super chat. We'll get to you right in a few moments. Will Johnson, though, this season so far, 20 tackles, not tackling a ton, right? Because why would he tackle? Michigan doesn't give up passing yards very much, and he doesn't give up very many catches. 1 tackle for loss, 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, an interception, of course, against Ohio State. 2 tackles against the Buckeyes, 1 interception, absolutely boxed out Marvin Harrison Jr., got the pick. And I thought I was actually pretty lazy on Harrison Jr. If you saw the footage, he kind of gave up the second Will Johnson stepped in front of him. Johnson got like 18, 19 yards on that return. Last year, though, he had 2 interceptions. And I don't want to say it was his coming out party, because he had been starting for about 5 games after the Michigan State game, after Gemon Green got injured in really the tunnel fight. Will Johnson took over as the second starter next to DJ Turner for Michigan. But this Big Ten championship game was really when I think people nationally started to take notice of this, at the time, true freshman. 2 interceptions with 2 tackles last year against Purdue. My takeaway here on Will Johnson going into this game is I really don't expect to see him, healthy or not. We saw him sit out the first couple games of this season, not play because he's coming off an injury really at the TCU game last year, missed a lot of spring ball, etc. I don't expect to see him coming up on Saturday. I think Michigan doesn't fear the passing attack of Iowa at all. I think they're just going to rest Will Johnson, even if he's 90%, 85%, and not even risk a re-injury. So, in my opinion right now, do not expect to see Will Johnson coming up against Iowa on Saturday night. If I ask you guys a question, what about you? Do you expect to see Will Johnson play? Left the Ohio State game, was serious enough that they held him out against Marvin Harrison Jr. in what could turn out to be a one-score game, and really needed Jalen Harrell hitting Kyle McCord to get that win, get that interception. We're seeing a lot of no's in the live chat coming up already. So let me know, live chat, let me know down in the comments if you're watching this on Wednesday. Does Will Johnson play on Saturday? JJ McCarthy, Sherrone Moore commented on him in his Monday press conference. And we'll talk about JJ's injury, right? I thought JJ looked spry. I thought he looked loose and limber, but he's got multiple injuries on the lower leg. He's got an ankle. He's got a knee injury. Sherrone said, I think he's better. I think he showed that when he took off and ran down the sideline, ran past those guys. He's feeling good. JJ threw for 80% completion against Ohio State, 148 yards. Now, did have one touchdown passing, which is an absolute dime, an absolute beauty to the likes of which we have never seen, I think, out of a Michigan quarterback. Over the top of one helmet, right between kind of the arms of a defender, right in the breadbasket of Roman Wilson, who absolutely caught the ball at the 4-yard line, took 3 steps, got past the goal line, then the ball was taken from him in the end zone. So I think anybody who's trying to say that was an interception are complete fools and are just trying to rile you up as a Michigan football fan. But I digress. JJ's, though, I think is going to be near 100% health coming up on Saturday. I hope Michigan gets a 21-point lead and they just pull him out of the game and let somebody else get those final snaps, as Michigan should have. No problem, I think, with holding Iowa to very few points, but Michigan, they need to worry about against the Iowa defense, scoring points themselves. Chris Partridge, Michigan's fired linebackers coach, has been with the program 2 different stints, like 2016 to 2019, and then went to Ole Miss for the defensive coordinator. Return back this season, one of Jim Harbaugh's closest confidants. We'll tell you all about this Chris Partridge statement, what we think about it here in just a moment. But I did want to tell you guys about the sponsor of the Michigan Football Report, PrizePicks. They've been with us all season long. The easiest and fastest way to play daily fantasy sports. You just pick more or less on player stats to win up to 25 times your money. This week on PrizePicks, I'll show you my picks in a second, but did want to tell you why I love PrizePicks. It's you versus the numbers. They put numbers and stats for players in football, in basketball, college football, baseball, et cetera, et cetera. You pick the sport you want to look at. They give you numbers. It might say JJ McCarthy, 185 yards passing, 105 yards and a half. You pick more, you pick less. That's as simple as it is. You can mix and match sports. You can pick an NFL player, NBA player, right? Boom, right there. They've got the insurance reboot policy. If a player gets injured in the first half, does not come back for the second half, that does not hurt you in your PrizePicks. It's taken out of the bet. Also, they have flex play. Did want to show you, though, my picks for this weekend. Thursday Night Football. I've got Geno Smith. I'm going less than 228.5 passing yards, right? It's that simple, more or less. Tony Pollard, I'm going more. Half a touchdown. I think he's going to get in the end zone, passing, rushing, or receiving. Clearly, I think it's going to be on the ground for him. And the Cowboys kicker, Brandon Aubrey, I'm going more than 1.5 field goals made. Guys, get going with PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get up to a $100 deposit match. That's up to $100 deposit match. Helps you get used to it, right? Your money lasts longer. You put in 100, you got an extra 100. You put in 50, you batch that too, got an extra 50. Link is down in the comments and description of today's video. We'll also put it here in the live chat if you're watching Tuesday night. Get going with PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. $100 deposit match using code CLNS. Keep rolling here on the Michigan Football Report as we are about 11, 12 minutes from the College Football Playoff Top 25 rankings. My top priority right now for this Michigan football program, maybe outside of Jim Harbaugh, maybe that's top priority. This is just be priorities that you can control. Because if Jim Harbaugh wants to jump to the NFL, there's nothing that Michigan's going to do, money or otherwise, to stop him if he's got a job that he wants to take. Retaining your offensive coordinator, retaining your defensive coordinator, keeping the band rolling for hopefully what is another Big Ten championship next year. Let's take a look at what these guys compare to the top coaches in college football, assistant coaches. Pay scale. Garrett Riley made the switch from TCU. Saw what he did with that offense last year over to Clemson. He's your top paid assistant in college football. Washington's offensive coordinator, Ohio State's defensive coordinator, Georgia's defensive coordinator, Oklahoma's offensive coordinator who just got a head coaching job at Mississippi State. LSU's, I think it's their D coordinator. Pete Golding at Ole Miss, their D coordinator. Tommy Rees at Alabama, OC. Kevin Steele, Alabama's DC. And then Andy Ludwin, the offensive coordinator at Utah. Moore and Jesse Minter, they're $700,000 off, right? They're like number 34, tied for number 34 in college football coaching salaries. Now, I'm not saying that Michigan just needs to throw money at these guys for absolutely no reason, but that's a lot of money, right? $1.15 million is a lot of money to be an assistant coach, but these guys are both going to have options. I think Sherrone Moore has a lot of options right now for head coaching jobs. I think Jesse Minter's going to have a lot of options for NFL defensive coordinator jobs and maybe a lesser head coaching job than Moore would get. But that's where they're at. We'll continue on with the story, show you what I think on these two guys. Moore, though, is a Broyles Award finalist, the second time in 3 years. Ironically, that a Michigan offensive coordinator is a finalist for this award. In 2021, Josh Gaddis won it somehow, even though the fact he really wasn't at that point. I don't think Michigan's true offensive coordinator. I think it was actually Jim Harbaugh and maybe even Sherrone Moore himself. Last year, Minter was up there. I think he was only a semifinalist. Minter was not one of the final 5 guys. Bruce Feldman, though, and other sources have linked him, Indiana people have linked him to the Indiana job over the last couple of days as Indiana fired their head coach. Basically saying here that he's done an amazing job at Michigan, offensive line coach, OC, acting head coach. He's only 37 years old. Will he leave Michigan after this year? He's now proven that he can win 2 games against top 10 teams. That's pretty rare amongst any interim midseason coach that's obviously not going to get the full-time job. He's a hot commodity, right? This Ohio State win, the Penn State win 2 weeks prior to that. He is a hot commodity. Indiana's being rumored. Duke is even starting to get rumored as their head coach, Mike Elko, goes over to Texas A&M. Does he wait for Harbaugh to leave Michigan, right? The craziest thing in history would be if Harbaugh were to tell him, no, I'm staying at Michigan. Sherrone, you've done good for us. Go take the Indiana job or the Duke job. And then a month later, Harbaugh decides to go to the NFL. That would be, even if Harbaugh didn't intend it, that would be quite the shocker to Moore, I am sure. I think Sherrone Moore, if I was him, and if he watched the show, which I'm sure he does, I would think about guys like Kirby Smart, right? Was with Nick Saban's staff for about 20 years. I think he was the defense coordinator for 8 straight seasons. Had all kinds of offers after year 2, year 3, year 4, to jobs like Duke, jobs like Indiana, Mississippi State, I don't know, Cal, just these kind of second or third rung Power 5 jobs. How about Brent Venables? Could have got the Kansas State job. Could have got a ton of different jobs over the years. I think he was even rumored to be the top candidate for Miami at one point 5-6 years ago. Waited for a top tier job. Both those guys did. Oklahoma with Venables, Georgia with Kirby Smart. We see how it's worked out for those guys. Too many times assistant coaches jump at the first job that is available to them in the Power 5, an Oregon State or an Indiana or Purdue or something like that, and they go 5-7, 6-6, 5-7, 3-4 years, and they are shown the door. The career takes a big step back. If I was him, I keep rolling with Jim Harbaugh as long as he thinks Michigan keep winning. Wait for a job amongst these levels. Like, keep staying up there. Make people want you as long as humanly possible. And I think Michigan needs to keep the band together as long as humanly possible. We show those openings, Jack, the job openings, Jack. I want to make sure we run through those just to let people. What's that? No worries. Okay, so opening jobs right now, we've got Duke, Oregon State, Indiana, Houston, unless they hired somebody recently, Boise State, San Diego State. They look like they're going to make a hire today too, and New Mexico. I think those are all the open jobs. Syracuse just made a hire as well. Who they hire? I can't. Yeah, Syracuse got their job. So a lot of jobs out there. I think Duke, maybe even Oregon State, that would be kind of a suicide job right there. They have no conference to go in the Mountain West next year. So we will see how things shake out. Keep the band together. That is my ask of Jim Harbaugh. If he's staying, put the money in front of these two guys and make sure we're keeping the band together. Now, one note for Minter and Moore is Jesse Minter, Mike Macdonald, Michigan's offensive coordinator in 2021, only one season, beat Ohio State. Go to the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best defensive coordinators in all of football now. He proved it at Michigan. No Stallions needed in 2021, 22, now 23. The Ravens defense is absolutely lights out. He's a young guy too, around 40 years old. Mike Macdonald is. He is a top candidate for what could be 7 or 8 NFL jobs. If he were to get an NFL job, which I bet he does, I don't care what Michigan's paying him. I think Jesse Minter himself is going to end up jumping to take that Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator job because that's kind of where he grew up and where he got his chops there as a football coach back before he took the Vanderbilt job for 1 year in the 2021 season. Back to Sherrone Moore. What will Sherrone Moore's next job be? Do you think it's going to be the Michigan head coach? Give me an M if it's Michigan's head coach either now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. Michigan's head coach, his next job, or is he going to go take a head coaching job elsewhere, whether that's Indiana, Duke, 2-3 years from now? Just type other, Michigan, M, or other. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Maybe the top thing in people's minds is what's Jim Harbaugh's future at this school? We've heard rumors, and I think I had a decent enough source about 4 or 5 weeks ago that there was some serious talk in the month of October before the Stallion stuff came out there that Michigan was going to extend Jim Harbaugh, right? A top paid coach, $10, $11 million a year, 7-8-year extension. It didn't happen, but he's got the support of Santaono still right now. I think this story is starting to die down, right? There's a story every single day for about 25, 30 days straight, and now that's all dying out. And as such, I wouldn't be surprised that after this Big Ten championship game happens, they don't let Harbaugh go and we see something announced. But until it happens, I'm just saying we'll see, because I have been burnt one too many times over the last 3 years or so. Michigan needs to retain Harbaugh, and once they do, make a push before the coaching carousel starts. It's really starting right now, but really before it heats up, which starts kind of next week after the conference championship game. Get Harbaugh signed, keep Moore, keep Minter, keep the band rolling. I also don't want to get crazy. I don't want Michigan to take the success that Sherrone Moore's had over the past 3 games, and prior to that, 4 games as a head coach this year, and give him some head coaching waiting job, right? It never works out. Texas did it a while back under Mac Brown. It never works out successfully. I don't think Michigan should even entertain doing it. If he's doing a good job, pay him well, try and keep him. And when Jim Harbaugh decides to move on, either to the NFL or to retire from coaching, then you make sure you're more into your head coach. But I think this whole coach and waiting thing is kind of overblown and never really works out. Is a Harbaugh extension coming soon? I don't know, but if we do, Chat Sports Michigan Football Report will be on top of it. We'll go live, honestly, as soon as it can. If it's during the office, we're in the office, we'll go live within 20, 30 minutes. If not, we'll rush into the studio as fast as we can. Talked about the Chris Partridge statement a moment ago, just kind of paraphrasing the top things he said in it. He says, the claims, the reports of why he was terminated have been inaccurate, right? The blog boys, the Michigan blog boys, are saying that he told players to not cooperate with the NCAA. The non-Michigan media has said, well, of course, he was Stallion source, right? He was paying Stallions. He was doing all this to Stallions. He says neither of those are true. Okay, cool. He said he had no knowledge of the sign-stealing operation. Claims he didn't destroy any evidence. What he was fired for, according to him, was that he was told by Michigan to not talk to anyone else at Michigan about the Stallion situation at all, and apparently had conversations just in general with players. A player or two said that to the NCAA investigators, Big Ten investigators. That was reported back to Michigan. Hey, I did speak about it 2 days ago about what happened with Chris Partridge, and that's why he was ultimately fired. He wishes Jim Harbaugh the best. He has no ill will towards Michigan, and I absolutely wish him the best and hope he has a job next season. I don't think this should be a stain on his career in any shape or form. But remember this. Remember this. And I hope Chris Partridge is telling the truth. I am. But I'm a big dot connector, and it just does kind of like, I don't want to say irk at me, but it's always in the back of my mind, is this from about 4 weeks ago. The aspiring football coach, an aspiring football coach, shared his text with Connor Stallions to Sports Illustrated about a month ago or so from January, February of 2021, where Stallions was bragging about how he was cool with close to the whole staff, but most especially Chris Partridge and hell, even Jay Harbaugh. And, the text that, Stallions is obsessed with helping Michigan. There's so many pictures out there of Partridge and Stallions. I hope, just like I hope Jim Harbaugh has nothing to do with this sign stealing, yada, yada, I hope that Chris Partridge is telling the truth there. I have no reason to believe he's not, but, never believe anything at face value. Guys, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We are coming up on 30,000. That's right, 30,000 subscribers. 29,000, about 400 or so, 450 here on the show. So subscribe if you yet to. It's youtube.com/Michigan TV. Send that link, of course, to your friends, youtube.com/Michigan TV. Let's go through the all Big Ten teams that were released this afternoon, defense and special teams, where Michigan players were ranked or were slotted by the coaches and the media. Take a look here. Will Johnson, first team defense, along with Mason Graham. So 2 true sophomores from Michigan. First team defense, Junior Colson. Second team, Kenneth Grant, Chris Jenkins. So 2 in the defensive line, 1 linebacker. Mike Sanderson is a second teamer as well. James Turner, second team as the kicker. Michael Barrett, third team, according to the coaches. Rod Moore, third team, and Tommy Doman. Bunch of guys got all Big Ten honorable mention. Samaj Morgan is a returner. Jalen Harrell, Braden McGregor, Derek Moore, Josiah Stewart, all 4 of those guys on the defensive line. So I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's seven guys who got either first, second, third team or honorable mention by the coaching just on the defensive line alone for Michigan. Makari Page and Josh Wallace in the secondary for this Michigan football team. Now, let's take a look over on the media side of things, right? Where do the media rank Michigan's football players? Will Johnson and Mike Sanderson, first team defensive backs. Junior Colson at the linebacker, second team. Koshenkin, second team. Mason Graham, third. Kenneth Grant, right? He's not even a real true starter for Michigan, yet he is third team all-conference, according to the media. And what was he? Second team on the other side. Michael Barrett, Jalen Harrell, Braden McGregor, a bunch of the same guys are honorable mention there. And those are your Big Ten all-conference nominees, the media, the coaches for this 2023 Michigan football team. I actually thought Michigan should have more players on the first team, second team defense. Frankly, I've seen years of Michigan, Ohio State's had a great team in 2019, 2020. They have like 5 defenders, 4 offensive players in the first team, 2, 3 offensive players, 6 defenders in the second team, etc., stuff like that. So I was a little disappointed, but make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. 29,416 is the current number. We are the Michigan Football Report. Subscribe to the channel, and remember, we will have the fastest post-game show in all of college football coming up Saturday night after the Big Ten championship game.